Good morning and welcome to the Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. The Morning Express begins at 5 a.m., wrap things up at around 11, and the Morning Express constitutes different segments that usually involves news analysis, providing you with top stories, giving you an opportunity to speak on these stories, and most importantly, providing you with in-depth analysis regarding the news pieces that we review on radio. My name is Sage Babalola. I'm of course your host for the morning, and right this very moment we're about to get into the segment of the Morning Express that we call Trends in the Papers. Of course, we are counting down to Christmas. It's the 12th December 2024, and coincidentally it's about 12 days to Christmas. I know that we're very excited for those of us who are able to at least harness the little things that make us happy in our environment, in our family, or at least count our blessings. And for those of us that are struggling to highlight the good things that we've been able to achieve, I can assure you that if you think very critically, if you think very deeply, you will find something that is worthy of celebration. Just being here, like I usually say, is actually worthy of celebration. You have been able to surmount challenges that some people did not have the physical or emotional capacity to surmount. You're here, you listen to us, you're a part of the family. There are people that love you and there are people that you love. That, I believe, is reason to be expectant, to be grateful, and to be happy. And here at mainland 98.3 FM, we're going to do the best we can to make sure that you being a part of this family is an enjoyable experience for you. I've been mentioning since last week that across all shows, across all belts, across all segments, there's something for you, the listener. We'll begin announcing all of these arrangements, I believe, from next week, so you're able to really cash into it and you're able to enjoy that benefit. There's something for everyone. Of course, there would be some lucky winners, but there's something for everyone. For Trends in the Papers, what we're going to do basically is look through the top stories as reported on the front pages of our dailies. We would have Fouad Said join us as always to analyze these stories, and then during the feedback segment of the Morning Express that we call Mainland Focus, we allow you an opportunity to also opine on these matters. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. That's how you find us on our streaming platforms. You can drop your submissions, you can talk to us live via the streaming platform. Just send a message and we would see all your contributions, or you can call in. Again, I'll give out all the information when it's time to take feedback. But Fouad Said now joins us via the phone as we look through our dailies: Punch, Guardian, Vanguard newspaper in no particular order. Fouad, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sage. How are you?
I'm fine. It's so funny. The number 12 is so prominent. It's December 12th. It's 12 days to Christmas, and the national grid has collapsed 12 times.
So 12 is the magic number.
That's the magic number for some reason. 12 times it has collapsed this year. In October, at least 3 times. Almost, I think twice, almost consecutively, that it happened, which is so coincidental. And you forgive me for jumping right into it, Fouad. Which is so coincidental because we had the German president, Frank Steinmeier, come into the country, and the primary conversation is not just around business, it's also around power, energy. That's what they're talking about, how they're going to renewable energy using the sun. The president himself said, well, we have the sun, we have the weather, we have the resources. Germany has the technology, so we can harness it. And then it turns out that the national grid decides to collapse at a time where we're talking about energy sustainability and transitioning into clean energy and what have you. We're still going to talk about the electricity sector in full when we start looking at the papers. But just this recent event, these back-to-back events in the power sector, just talk briefly about it.
Well, the 12th grid collapse. As we speak, I think many parts of the country are still experiencing blackouts. I don't think the grid has been restored. And if it has been restored, I think it's still a gradual process to getting power back to most parts of the country. As we speak, it's actually disheartening. The 12th grid collapse in 1 year. So it puts it on an average of 1 grid collapse per month. And as it is, my mind tells me that we may still witness another collapse even before the end of the year.
God forbid.
Well, God forbid, I agree, but it's a record-breaking situation, whether you like it or not, right, in the energy sector. It's very, very unfortunate. And I think we need a more holistic review of the entire power sector. I think there's a lot that is going on that we don't even understand. There's a lot that we still need to unravel for us to really now find the right solution to our power problem. Like you said, there's a lot going on in the power sector. I think in one of the papers too, it has already been reported that the gas suppliers have stopped supply of gas to the GENCOs.
Yeah.
So that may also worsen the power situation in the country. Because I think the debt that is being owed the gas suppliers have gotten to the point where they can no longer bear it.
2 trillion.
So what they've done is
2.7
trillion. 2.7 trillion. So if we have that kind of debt for people that supply gas to the GENCOs and they've now decided to stop gas supply to the GENCOs, it tells you that, look, it's a whole lot. So it's not even about the grid now. The entire value chain is in a complete mess. From generation to transmission to distribution, say it is a complete mess, And that's why Nigerians are wondering, this idea of driving a cost-effective tariff, people should pay more, they should pay more. Oh, that was what, of course, created the band A, band B, the band arrangement. Instead of going for a service-oriented tariff that will force us to think more about delivering on the service before first thinking about how to make Nigerians pay more for what is not even available. So look at where we are, Sage. Despite people now paying more, the grid keeps collapsing. The 12th time in a year, Sage, it's unfortunate and really, really, bad really to be talking about this. It's an embarrassment, actually. It's a national embarrassment, whether you like it or not. And for the president of Germany, that visited the president yesterday, Stemmer, of course, the conversation basically was still about, okay, you can bring in your own businesses. The president is using a one-liner now. Easy in, easy out. That's the word from him always.
Yeah.
That, look, there's a lot of reforms going on. If you bring your businesses here, we've removed all the bureaucracy, the bottlenecks. It's now easy in, easy out. And, of course, he talked a lot about the renewable energy situation of the country, the fact that we have water, we have sunlight, we have gas. And Germany has the technology, say. So he's expecting Germany to bring the technology to harness the resources for our own benefit. But you know what, Sage? I'll tell you why it's a bit problematic to begin to think along that line. When the president was also in France, there was a conversation around lithium. That, we have it here, you have the technology, help us come and harness these resources and all of that. Yes, on a simple outlook, on the first outlook, it looks good. If you have the resources, you have the technology. But let me tell you something, Sage. Nobody would export their technology to you. Every nation that has been able to develop technologically, develop for their own benefit. Whenever they go out with that technology, number one, they protect it. Number two, they use it to harness people's resources for their own benefit, not necessarily for the benefit of the other people. And that's why we are saying that, look, this idea of not funding education very well, this idea of not harnessing our potential in terms of the gift God has given to us in human resources, by building schools, by funding education heavily to develop our own technology, is taking us nowhere. I sent a story to you this morning.
I did.
The situation of our universities, our lecturers.
Yes.
So look, on the short term, yes, we might begin to beg countries like Germany to bring in their own technology, India help us with their technology, France come with their technology. But look, the solution to our problem, is for us to invest heavily in education, steal some of these technologies, develop our own homegrown technology for our own benefit. We continue to rely on these people only between ourselves. We've been on this Siemens deal, Sage, for how long now? The Siemens electricity deal.
Years.
For how long? We've been on it. There's been a lot of back and forth, all through the Buhari era. The Siemens deal was like the final solution to our power problem. 8 years, he wasn't able to solve the problem. The deal up till now, we don't know where we are on it. We are still talking about it, and we're still begging nations to bring in their own technology. The question is, what are we doing to build our own technology? What are we doing to fund education to the point where we can also have homegrown technology? The late Sage, Babafilo said it, nobody will give you that technology. You have to go out there to steal it, copy it, then develop your own homegrown technology for your own benefit. And that's what is lacking for now, Sage.
Well, there you have it. And I do agree with you. Our education system is in a really terrible state. And it's worse because those who are supposed to impact this knowledge into students are not living very comfortable lives. Some of them have resorted to sleeping in their offices, dumping their cars at home, and having to walk or take public transportation. Nobody that is uncomfortable can give you the best when it comes to impacting knowledge. And if that is the state of the lecturers, you can only imagine what the students are going through. And so how exactly can we reel out individuals that will be able to come up with groundbreaking innovations? And speaking of
Innovations, yeah.
speaking of groundbreaking innovations, there's been a lot of conversations in popular media the last couple of days, and you'd forgive me for wanting to take some of our time to talk about this. There's even an article on it, I think, in the Vanguard newspaper, the shaming of the nationhood. They've been talking about how Nigerians who succeed in diaspora say a lot of bad things, so to speak, about Nigeria. Kemi Badenoch, for example, was the poster girl for that story, leader of the Conservative Party. And as we know, the history of the Conservative Party in producing prime ministers, there are postulations that we might see a Kemi Badenoch, someone who's originally Nigerian,
emerge
as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Recently, one Dr. Bolu Ogunyemi became the first black president elect of the Canadian Medical Association after 158 years. We have an Okonjo-Iweala who became the World Trade Organization head, unopposed. There was unanimous decision. Nobody had anything. Nobody wanted to go against her. And then they're saying that these individuals, anytime they speak about Nigeria, they don't. Maybe Okonjo-Iweala doesn't outrightly disparage the country, but she highlights the many problems that we have. Do you think that the statements of these individuals or the posture of these individuals when talking about the country is doing us a disservice, or you think it's necessary that they speak this truth to international communities?
Well, talking about speaking truth to international community, I think that we also have to be careful not to continue to deceive ourselves. That whatever everybody not said about us, Nigerians in diaspora or people of Nigerian origin in diaspora, what they say about us is how the international community now sees us. No, they know us. See, it's not what everybody not says that reflects on us. Look, these are guys who have embassies here, they have foreign missions here, some of their people do businesses here, and look, they're able to get direct feedback on how things work in the country, Sage. Oh, are you going to tell me that, look, whatever Indians think about Nigeria is because somebody has gone to India to tell them about the country? They have a lot of Indians who work there. Whatever Chinese know about us. The reality is that, look, we're looking for excuses, really. And that's why it's always good to know where your problems are, or what your problems are, instead of you just deflecting on the real issues, scratching the surface, and just merely looking for somebody to blame for your own predicament. Look, and a lot of these guys say, yes, of Nigerian origin. Why is it that with all their talent, it's only when they go out there that they show like a million stars? Look, there are millions of Kemi Badenoch in Nigeria. There are millions of Okonjo-Iweala in Nigeria. But do you know why their destinies have been completely destroyed? The corruption in the system, the inefficiency in the system, the lack of visionary leadership that's supposed to propel them. It's what is lacking. So I love when I listen to the vice president lambasting practically Kemi Badenoch for some of our disparaging statements about the country. Even went as far as saying, oh, she can even remove the Nigerian name from her name. Look, Kemi, it's not your problem, Mr. Vice President. Look inwards, look at yourself. Ask yourself, you and the people in power, your friends, your business associates, your colleagues, your cronies, are you doing the right thing for the country? That's where the problem is, Sage. Kemi can never have the problem, just the same way they were almost going to kill Davido or saying the economy is in shambles. Is Davido the problem, Sage? These guys should ask themselves a bitter truth. Are they telling that can they beat their chest? Or, let us even put it in a religious manner, can they stand before Allah or God or whatever they believe in to say, God, we are actually doing the right thing for the country? That look, what I've done so far with the opportunity that I've gotten as a leader of the country, I have done everything possible within my power to make the country better. So look, the reality is that they know us. Sage, we need to talk to ourselves. And that's why I keep saying that, look, it's not about deflecting on the issues or being illusional or delusional about it. The reality is that we are our own problem, and until we tell ourselves the truth, we are going nowhere.
Well, you should read that article. It's quite interesting. I'm talking to our listener now. You like it. You really would like it. It's very enlightening. Anyways, back to the conversation for this morning. It still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. I'm Sage Babalola. I've been here conversing with Fuad Said about national issues still. And now we're about to delve straight into the papers. Punch is what we're starting with this morning. And we're going right back to conversations around all the inadequacies of our power sector. The headline here reads 2.7 trillion naira debt. Nigeria face blackout as gas producers cut supply to Gencos. The rider, Power Minister, Presidency aware of situation, says Gencos. So the story tells us that wholesale gas producing companies have abruptly stopped the supply of natural gas to power generation companies for electricity production over the non-payment of debt accrued from previous supplies. The Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Power Generation Companies, Dr. Joy Ogaji, disclosed the latest development in an exclusive interview with The Punch on Wednesday. The gas supply was abruptly halted after the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority reportedly instructed gas producers to suspend the delivery of natural gas to indebted Gencos until further notice, citing the escalating debt. And I'd like to highlight that the NMDPRA, by the way, this morning have debunked that claim that they did not give instruction to the gas suppliers. The gas suppliers just got tired of having to supply products without getting paid. Now, the total debt so far is around 2.7 trillion naira, and the gas suppliers are saying at least pay 9% of that money. Pay 9%. That's how much generosity we're willing to offer to you. Pay 9%. But they say the minister is aware. Everybody in that value chain is aware of the particular debt, and it's surprising that time after time nothing has been done about that debt. Fuad, what exactly does this say about the future of power? Because we had the minister Adilabo also speaking to the German president about the ramping up of our electricity production to at least 150,000 megawatts, which is surprising because we're still bordering 3,000 to 5,000, and we have a national grid that continuously collapses, and now a debt profile that is forcing the gas suppliers to withdraw their services from the Gencos.
See, honestly, it's a very difficult one. It's and this is what you get when a critical, sector, when it comes to nation building, is hijacked by people who have no business in that business. This is what you get when vested interest dominates a sector as critical as the power sector. This is what you get when you allow corruption to fester in such a sector. Because again, if you check the entire value chain, go and look at the active players. Who are these guys who own these businesses? And I'm talking about from the Gencos to the discos now, in between the transmission companies, again, the largely still in the hands of government. But if you look at the entire value chain, what you will get, vested interest, corruption, cronyism, all the things that would not naturally make a sector work is what you find in that sector. And that's why we are in this mess. I must tell you. That is the reason why we are in this mess. It's a complete mess. Because at the end of the day now, for every of the value chain, steps and stages of the value chain, there's a problem. I had thought that, look, at the generation level, we're not even going to have this level of problem. You understand what I'm saying? Because again, people are being forced into paying what ordinarily is not easy for them to pay. I'm talking about the Band A arrangement. And I listened to the minister when, of course, this band thing came up. The idea was that, look, these monies have to come. We're not paying what was supposed to be the cost-effective tariff. And that if this money starts coming in, of course, it will help, to stabilize some of the payments that were supposed to be due to the gas suppliers, the gen companies, and all of those things. But there's a whole lot of talk about the need for people to pay more. But we are not seeing any significant improvement, in the power sector. The grid keeps collapsing. Gas suppliers cannot be paid. The Gencos now are going to run into trouble because 70% of our electricity generation is through gas.
Yeah.
You understand? And it means that, look, if the Gencos shut down because they don't have supply of gas, it's a good that, look, when it comes to public power, it's ground zero for us. Because without generating, what can you transmit? And then what then would you be able to distribute? So it's really, really all muddled up. It's a complete mess. It's difficult for anybody to even say this is how to even solve the problem. we decided that, look, one of the easiest way out, maybe a long-term solution, but at least it would have given us one step ahead in trying to look for a solution to this problem, was to review the power sector, the laws guiding the power sector, to allow for subnational SAGE to actively participate in the sector. Since that law was passed, SAGE, have you seen any active move? Have you seen any intentional move by the subnationals, really, apart from maybe Lagos, to take advantage of that law? Because what it means is that states cannot generate, transit, and distribute. But we've not really seen any states really taking advantage of that extant law that gives them the opportunity to unbundle the power sector so that we can have smaller units that can be more effective. I think Lagos is the only one that is making some baby steps and making some initial moves. All other states have gone quiet on it. I think it doesn't really matter. So I think at the end of the day, we may have to call another national emergency on the power sector. What exactly is the problem? How do we fix it? This has become too problematic for just a radio analysis. See, it requires some professional input to really know what the problem is and how to fix it. Very unfortunate situation, Sage. I'm just in front of a church now. You could see hundreds of people queuing up for food, early morning food. You know where I am now. It tells you a story of how bad things are in the country for people.
Well, this particular story on electricity is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Chances are we might spend the rest of the year with irregular power supply if this issue of gas supply to the Gencos is not resolved.
I think the rest of the year.
Well,
I think 2025 will be more problematic. We will go.
Well, it's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Let's move on to other stories right now. We have the Punch telling us here, defamation. Abuja or your court bars further sale of Farotimi's book. Now, Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja on Wednesday barred human rights activist and lawyer Dele Farotimi from further publishing, selling, circulating, advertising, or distributing the hard or soft copies of his book, Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. A similar order was issued by an Oyo State High Court, which also granted an interim order restraining Farotimi or any person acting through him from further printing the controversial book. Now, the activist lawyer is currently embroiled in a legal battle over the book, and the police have arraigned Farotimi before the Federal High Court in Ekiti State, as well as the Ekiti State Magistrate Court in Ado, Ekiti. And according to the police, Farotimi in the book have accused Babalola and other sons of corrupting justices of the Supreme Court. So far, it's not just Afe Babalola now that is instituting a charge against Dele Farotimi. I think we need to put that out there. Some others were insinuated to have also been complicit when it comes to manipulations within the justice systems, and these individuals have also approached the court. Is the popularity of the case with Afe Babalola San is because of his standing in society, but even other lawyers, legal luminaries in Oyo State, for example, have approached the court, and there's been a unanimous judgment regarding the book. There he is to discontinue the sale, distribution, and advertisement of that book. So for this is a conversation. We can understand the possibility of enforcing that particular rule in Nigeria, but this book is on Amazon, for example, and I don't think that is a Nigerian company. It's not. So how do you exactly? So how exactly do you enforce that kind of law, for example, on a distribution channel that is not necessarily Nigerian?
Well, I don't know, because again, I think some of the court orders have instructed the police to immediately
seize, and also seize the physical copies.
Seize, confiscate. So if they see the book in your hand, say you're in trouble. They will catch you.
I'll not take it outside. I'll read it in my room.
Okay, so you have the book.
I will not answer that question. I plead the fifth.
Because again, I think I'll be surprised that Mr. Dele Farotimi would not have known that this was going to come when he published the book. He did a lot really to try to publicize the book, granted media interviews, but now the book has very free publicity, big publicity actually, for it to even become one of the best-selling books on Amazon. So he says a whole lot really. So I don't know how these court orders will be enforced, because now the court orders are coming from right, left, and center, and Abuja court has also done the same thing. Yeah. The court in Oyo State. And these are big guys, if you understand what I'm saying. So, and I think that while Mr. Farotimi was writing that book, if he didn't know, if he had not had the thinking that this was going to come, then I'll be surprised. Because look, you're going after an entire institution, you're going after an entire sector, you're going after very big people. You understand what I'm saying? So they're going to come naturally after him. Does this change the perception of the public about the justice system? I don't think so, Sage. Whatever happens to Mr. Dele Farotimi, say, whether he's thrown to jail, whatever happens, whatever ends this case, all the, in fact, because I'm sure more people will still go to court. Because again, you are talking about lawyers who feel very comfortable to go to court. They know the law, they know everything, they even know what we don't know. But you know, on this matter, I try to put it on the on common sense, on the basis of common sense. I'm not going to be talking about law now because I'm not a lawyer. But I think that, look, we can live in denial about the justice system. Know what we know. And they also know we know what we know, even though they might be continuing to deceive themselves.
Hello? Oops. Let's try to get back to Fuad. I believe this is a connection glitch, but well, it gives us an opportunity to actually welcome those who joined mid-program. So if you are just catching the program, you haven't necessarily missed a lot. We're just reviewing the stories that we have on the front pages of the Punch, of what our dailies, but we're currently reviewing the Punch newspaper. We're looking at the defamation case that has been leveled against Dele Farotimi and the unanimous judgment of the court in Abuja, in Oyo State, in Ekiti State, that his book, Nigeria and its criminal justice system, be withdrawn from the market, whether soft or hard copy, and the physical copies can be seized immediately anywhere it is seen. And so we're just having conversations around the justice system and what it is all about. Fuad, I would like to, do we have you now?
Yes,
right,
I'm back.
Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that, look, again, these are cases in court. Mr. Farotimi is also a lawyer. I'm sure he also has lawyers representing him. So the legal battle continues. They'll be able to sort themselves out. He who alleges must prove, if he has enough evidence to prove that indeed the justice system has been manipulated, you know. Look, you can't write such a book and not expect that this was going to happen. But what I'm saying is that, look, whatever happens with all of these court orders, interim injunction, ex parte order, confiscate the book, blah, 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 gag him, don't let him talk again, would it necessarily change the perception of people about Nigerian justice system? See, is it a Faroti meeting, actually, about the poor perception, the terrible perception of the people about Nigerian justice system? Or it's a long-term thing? Sage, we're here. We listen to it. When a particular senator at the valedictory service was telling his colleagues that, look, he needed to apologize to his wife, who was the former president of the appeal court, because severally his colleagues had approached him to interfere with court cases, which he did, and got that favor from his wife, Sage. So is it a Faroti meeting? You know, did anybody, why didn't the lawyer stand up there against Adamu Bukachua, the senator who said that? Do you know what it means for the husband of a former president of the appeal court to review such a thing? To the extent that the former Senate president was telling him, don't go there, don't go there. He said, that place you are going is a bad place to go. And the man said, okay, if you don't want me to talk, I'll keep quiet. But you have said what you have said, and it is still on record. That video is still trending about the justice system. Say, Kazuku, you guys all came. When we have court cases, for me, you know, to put pressure on my wife to grant you some of these favors, which she did. And because of what I did, I need to apologize to my wife. Maybe the thing died a natural death. A former retired justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Amina Ogi, what she said about how politicians also manipulate the justice system, putting their families, friends, cronies, children as judges into a different courts to manipulate court cases. The video is still there. So we can deceive ourselves, continue to live in denial, be very delusional about it. But like I said, it is not a Faroti meeting when it comes to how badly our justice system is being perceived. The reality is that, look, we are messing everything up. We mess everything up. The legislature, the judiciary, all institutions, because we keep building strong people and not strong institutions. But you know the worst part of lying is it. People can lie to you. You can excuse people lying to you without you knowing. The worst form of lie is when you lie to yourself. As a country, we are continuing to lie to ourselves, and we are still lying to ourselves. Where it will take us, we'll wait to see.
Well, there you have it. And the thing is that with a statement like that, individuals who probably had cases that were tried and judged on by his wife, they could take that opportunity to ask for a mistrial and ask that their case be retried, because it's indicative that there was some sort of judicial misconduct. We've seen that happen, maybe not in Nigeria, but in foreign countries.
Unfortunately, a lot of the cases are actually election cases. Election petition case. And unfortunately, too, when it comes to elections of legislators, it ends at the appeal court. It doesn't get to the Supreme Court.
Right.
So that's the final buzzer for most of the cases have been decided. There are people who means a lot of these guys have enjoyed manipulated justice and judgment. You understand what I'm saying? Look at what happened in Plateau State now. The legislators are now still, bearing the brunt, suffering from that miscarriage of justice at the appeal court. The only thing that saved the governor of Plateau State was because the petition of the governors gets to the Supreme Court that now, reverted the judgment. And now to, saying that's so well for the appeal court judges. So at the end of the day, should we continue to lie to ourselves? Look at what is happening now with Fᴜʟʟ S쏘ÿ the investigative journalist. This is a guy that has continued to risk his life, to reveal the rot in the Nigerian Customs Service, the smuggling going on.
Yeah,
I think it was yesterday or a day before.
Yeah, I saw the allegations that they were colluding with individuals to smuggle.
He even gives you details.
Yeah.
This is happening at this time. This is the number of trucks that have come in. It mentions the name of these smugglers and their calls and their collaborators with the Customs Service. Nobody does anything about it. You will still see people coming to say, but we know what we know. I schooled in a border town, and I know what happens across our borders. And how extremely corrupt our customs service is. Because these smugglings cannot happen without the connivance of customs service officers. So if Fᴜʟʟ S쏘ÿ, I'm telling you, in the minds of our very corrupt establishment, he's not seen as a hero for coming out to do his job to reveal the rot in the customs service. He mentions me. Look, the names he mentions, unfortunately, too, are also friends of people in power. We see them with governors, we see them with senators. They even sometimes share the same table with the president. Look, like I said, let us continue to lie to ourselves, and we'll see where it will take us. Maybe we are all here.
Well, that story is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. We're moving on to other stories now. Bank workers blame CBN as cash shortage worsens. Now, the Association of Senior Staff of Bank, Insurance and Financial Institutions have attributed the worsening cash shortage across the country to the Central Bank of Nigeria's inability to meet the cash demand of the commercial banks. As speaking with the Punch, ASSBIFA President Olusoji highlighted the dire impact of the scarcity, particularly as the festive season grows closer. Now, he says banks have only two sources of cash, the CBN and the retailers, and the CBN has not met the bank demands, and retailers often sell their cash for a profit. He's saying that banks need at least 12 million naira to operate, at least 8 million naira over the counter, 4 million naira in the ATMs, and the CBN has not been able to take care of the needs of the bank. He's saying the banks cannot force retailers to bring their money in. So in a way, they rely solely on the cash that is made available to them by the CBN. Fuad, we've began the trade, the blame trading, I beg your pardon, with this cash scarcity issue. The banks are saying it's the fault of the CBN. Others are saying, well, is the cash in circulation? People are refusing to put their cash into the system, while others are arguing that maybe it's time for us to drift towards a cashless society so that we do not suffer damages like this one because of the unavailability of cash.
Well, this was one of the major talking points, one of the main talking points yesterday on mainland focus. This cash problem, especially this Yuletide season where there'll be need for a lot of people to have cash for different transactions, I think one of our callers yesterday, I think his name is Mr. Yusuf, gave a very good insight into, I listened to him carefully, and I think he was able to give a very good, detailed insight into why we have this problem. I think the first one is the fact that, look, Nigerians are now trading with cash amongst themselves.
Yeah.
People are no longer taking the cash to bank. So what you see is that, for example, people at filling stations, people who at supermarkets, they now have to collaborate with POS operators. So you sell cash, so nobody takes cash to the bank. I think the only cash that returns to the bank at this time now are the mutilated ones, the ones that they know people will not collect.
Right.
So it's almost like when it's now terrible, just take it to the bank. But when the cash is still useful, people return it in the public space, so it doesn't go back to the bank. So that's one problem. But another challenge is this: the mint that eventually get to the bank. Why is that the only places where you see mint in Nigeria now say is at parties, people selling it? It's only at WHOAMBE. So it means that look, some mints eventually still get to the bank, but it doesn't go directly to the public space until it is sold by all these money vendors. So that's also one problem. And then I think what Mr. Isu also said yesterday, which I also found very instructive, was the problem of the CBN itself. Can the CBN tell us whether they're actually printing new mint, new money? Are they supplying the bank? Because what the Association of Bankers are saying, the NAFIBI or NAFIBI guys, what they are saying is that, look, the banks don't even bring in the cash. Right. That on a daily basis, they need about 20 million naira, right?
Yes.
For their daily transactions. And they're not even getting any close to that. So the CBN also needs to tell us, because I think this problem started from when we, decided to change the naira or recolor the naira. Let's put it that way. Are we printing enough new notes? How do we get banks to get these notes? Because there's a way you flood the public with this money that it won't be a problem, even though people want to retain it. So it's and he also said that, look, POS operations have also changed over the years. In the past, POS are owned by people who do businesses, not who sell money.
Yes. So
you want to pay, you just use their POS point to pay. But now POS operations have become majorly for money transactions, sales of money. So that has also led to the problem, because people who now have cash sell the money to POS operators, who now also sell it to the public. So nobody takes money to the bank again. So, but I think at the end of the day, the CBN still has a lot of work to do to solve this problem. The boxing stores are there. They are the regulators here, and they're the ones that can ensure that, look, we find a way to solve this problem. On doing away with cash transactions, say we still have a lot of infrastructure deficit on that level. Right. We say this is because you are in Lagos. Say there are still a lot of places in Nigeria that don't even have access to internet. There are still places where in the whole local government you may not see more than 2 banks. Say there's power supply problems. Even the e-channels of the banks. Now look at what has happened in the last 3 months. Say, for those of us even in your bank centers, if you want to do transfer now, you must first read the Lord's Prayer. So on that basis, because of the poor infrastructure, the deficits we have in that sector, we might not get to the point of a completely cashless economy for now, because again, where would infrastructure come from?
Indeed. Well, you are right, though. The overall operation of the bank, 20 million, but they need 12. 8 million for over 8 million for the ATMs, and then 4 million for over the counter. So 12 million for the people who need cash for transaction, but 20 million for their overall transaction every day. And the CBN is not helping them with that. So they have limited it. You can only get 20,000 naira from the bank. You can't get any more than 20,000 if you're withdrawing from over the counter. Even the ATM, 20,000 is the maximum that you can get for a day. But then you get 20,000 from the ATM, and then you go across the street to the POS operator, who can give you 100,000 naira as long as you're willing to pay the charges, which is an anomaly if you ask me. Well, that report is also on the front page of the Punch newspaper. If you would like to read details of that particular story, is on page 19 of the Punch. This is still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. We have the story here on page 26. Minimum wage. NULGE tackle governors for sidelining local government workers. This is a conversation around minimum wage. We do have the National Union of Local Government Employees raising concern about the exclusion of some local government workers from receiving the newly approved wage of 70,000 naira. The NULGE's national president, Hakeem Ambali, expressed the concern in an interview with Punch. He attributed the situation to delays refusing implementing local government autonomy, which has left workers uncertain about the appropriate channels to voice their grievances regarding minimum wage payment. So, for since the implementation of the new minimum wage, a lot of local government workers are saying that they've not been added, they've not started enjoying the benefit of the new minimum wage. And because of some of the obstructions when it comes to the implementation of local government autonomy, they don't even know the right offices to approach to make their complaint, and so they're stuck. They're at a crossroad. They don't know who to talk to, and they are not seeing any signs that they might soon enjoy the 70,000 minimum wage.
Sage.
Yes.
It's so tiring. I want to say,
don't laugh.
I have to just take a deep sigh, because and I know why this is going to be a problem, really.
Why?
Because even in most of the states, what we are hearing from some of the workers is that, look, the minimum wage is even being implemented. Is it in batches or in a staggered way? That it's not. They are not even doing it for all their workers. Some are being done, some are being delayed. So it's so confusing, so muddled up. We are not a process-driven people, and we deliberately sometimes muddle the process. For things like this, on things like this, because again, it's called a minimum wage, a national minimum wage. Why it may be extremely difficult for the private sector to quickly key into it? The sector that should not even have a problem is the public sector, the government-owned institutions, and with government workers, the public service. Because it's called a national minimum wage. So whether you are a local government worker, a state worker, a federal worker, that's supposed to be the minimum, right? So why is implementation being a problem? Even if you say it's local government autonomy, the reality is that, look, there's a government to hold responsible at the local level. Unless that, look, it's just autonomy in paper, undue autonomy. The governors still have a way of controlling what happens at that level. So at the end of the day, there's no commitment to anything. We are not intentional about anything. We say things that we would not even commit to doing. Because at the end of even the 70,000 naira minimum that people are fighting over, it's not a take-home pay that can even take anybody home. See, it is not. If you look at how things are expensive, the cost of living at this time, food, you are not even talking about other things. The cost of food, feeding your family at this time. So it should even be something that we're going to be dilly-dally over, having a back and forth over. 20, 130, 140. What can you even do for a family of 4? Or even a family of 2, 3? In reality. Cost of transportation. Look at the story of the lecturers. Lecturers are now sleeping in their offices. Lecturers that are going to impact people, the leaders of tomorrow. Some of them are even trekking. And the sad part of the conversation, you will now see in those universities, students who are, maybe they've done Yahoo, and others, even now have cars, they now be lifting their legs. And then you know what I mean? It's just, we are talking about innovations today in the power sector, technology, and all of that. I think people should go and listen to Lūģaļe again.
Right. Well,
if we don't fund the educational sector, if we don't fund these things, we are going nowhere. If you like, bring all the foreign presidents in the world, persuade before them to import their technology to your country and deceiving yourself.
Well, this particular story is on page, hold on a second, please allow me, page 28 of the Punch newspaper. Fad, I'd like us to review this story before we run out of time. The headline is RMAFC, Tinubu panel differ on VAT sharing formula. Now, the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee and the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission are locked in, a dispute over the constitutional right to administer and allocate value-added tax revenue in the country. Now, both entities support the need for tax reforms, but their positions sharply differ on the constitutional interpretation. Now, the RMAFC is saying that the Constitution provides them the power. They're the main and only arbiter of what the sharing formula should be. And the Constitution provides that VAT should be distributed with equity and justice in mind, meaning that states that are less privileged should be catered to. For, there's a difference between equality and equity. Equality means everybody gets the same thing. Equity means that people get what they need according to their specific. Exactly. So the RMAFC is saying that the distribution should be based on the capacity of the state. But then we have the Tax Reforms Committee saying that, well, VAT has been, it predates even the Constitution, so it is a state's concern. So they should be the one to determine what the sharing formula should be, and they agree that the sharing should be based on what you give is what you get. So Fuad, what side of the argument do you support? Is it what you give is what you get, or the distribution should be based on your immediate challenge as a state for the sake of equity and fairness?
Okay, before I talk about what you give is what you get, or whether it should be based on equity, looking at, okay, look, you are the big brother here, you should be able to cater to the needs of others who may not have the same resources and all of that, you see. But I also want to say that, look, if you have RAMFAC and the tax committee still having this dispute, you now see why it was wrong for us to have even retained the bill in the assembly in the first place.
Right.
So you ask yourself, is it that the tax committee did not even consult or interaction, have stakeholder engagement with an institution like RAMFAC? You don't understand what I'm saying? Because we are talking about the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Committee. So if RAMFAC and the tax committee are still not on the same page, do you now see why people are saying that? Why are we rushing through these things? What level of stakeholder engagement did you have, these committee people? They go 4 billion for this job. See, our money.
They're arguing now, or they're debating now, so they are working for the money.
This should have happened before any paper was put together. See, you don't understand what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
Look, all this should have been sorted out before the executive bill was put together and then presented to the National Assembly. And then you see, there are people who say, oh, Lagos. I've seen people who also say the Northerners, some people, they are lazy, they should go and harness their own resources. Look, there can never be. Look, when you have a nation, you always have stronger and the weak ones. It's just what it is. And I'm saying that, look, on the issue of equity, for example, we need to ask ourselves, how do you take care of yourselves as a people? How do you ensure that, look, it's not just about your strength, it's about how we're able to put everybody along? I'm not saying that, look, people should not look at the opportunities in their different states. But whatever is lopsided, whatever overfavors a side and leaves others behind, will not necessarily engender nation building or development. See, have we not seen now that insecurity in one place can affect the whole country?
Right.
See, have you not seen it? That, if you think that, because Boko Haram is in the north, I am immune in the south. If their farmers are not able to go to farm, there's a corresponding increase in the price of foodstuff that would also affect you that in the south, because you're not even farming anything here. So that is why for everything we do, whether it's on this tax reforms bill or any other policy that will come in the future, can we look at the bigger picture? Can we look at the situation where at least there's that level of equity, not equality now, see, in whatever we do? And that's why we're saying that, look, can you first withdraw this bill, get more people engaged, involve more people in the conversation, and then we can disagree to agree, and then have a bill that takes care of everybody's needs and concerns that we can pass at the National Assembly.
Well, we have run out of time, unfortunately. It's on page 2. Hopefully, we can actually make this a subject of conversation on one of our programs, hopefully on the Situation Room. Whose responsibility is it to determine the sharing formula, right? Is it the RMAFC or the tax committee or what have you? And what should the sharing formula be based on? We'd have answers and have an expert join us. For the Guardian newspaper, very briefly, I'll read the headlines. We have the top story here. Future of opposition uncertain as politicians begin realignment. Is on page 6 ahead of 2027. We have political instability, political stability, I beg your pardon. Security tops agenda at ECOWAS meeting. Page 3 of the Guardian. We have power sector crisis. Genco's unpaid invoice hits 1.4 trillion amid 12th grid collapse. Is on page 6. We have President Tinubu will seek re-election. Opposition cannot stop him, says Bwala. Dangote Refinery export PMS to Cameroon, partners Neptune Oil is on page 5. And we have food security. Experts worry over 40% post-harvest losses. And that is on page 3. Very, very sad. We don't have
food 40%.
40%. We're losing it because inappropriate storage facilities is actually store or process either. So we have, despite security blockage, Sanusi vows to install new district head of Bichi, and that is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. We'll be gone for about 10 minutes. When we come back, it will be mainland focus. It's Open Mic Thursday, so you get to determine the story that we focus on for the morning. Thank you so very much. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. I'm Sage Babalola. The Morning Express